One of the photography terms you're going to come across is depth of field. It sounds pretty technical, but the idea is actually very simple. Imagine you're looking down from above. Here's our camera, here's our subject, and here's the background. The camera is focused on the subject, so that is the point of perfect focus. But notice there's also a zone around that focus point where objects still appear sharp enough to our eyes. This entire sharp zone is called the depth of field. Anything closer than this zone gradually becomes blurred. So when photographers talk about depth of field, they're simply talking about how deep this sharp zone is. Imagine you're photographing a person standing in a field. If only their face is sharp and the background melts away into a soft blur, that's shallow depth of field. On the other hand, if the person, the trees behind them, and even the distant hills all appear sharp, that's a deep depth of field. Neither is better or the other. There's simply different creative choices that suit different types of photography. A shallow depth of field is often used by portraits because it separates the subject from the background. By blurring distracting objects behind the subject, the viewer's attention is naturally drawn to the person's face. This is one of the reasons portrait photographers often choose wide apertures such as f1.8 or f2.8. The background blur isn't just there to look attractive, it helps simplify the image and makes the subject stand out. A deep depth of field is usually preferred for landscapes, architectures and group photographs. In these situations, you often want as much of the scene as possible to appear sharp. A landscape photograph, for example, might include flowers in the foreground, a lake in the middle distance, and mountains on the horizon. Using a deeper depth of field allows all of these elements to appear acceptably sharp together, helping the viewer explore the entire scene. So what actually controls the depth of this sharp zone? The first is aperture. A wide aperture such as f1.8 produces a shallower depth of field, while a smaller aperture such as f11 produces a deeper depth of field. The second factor is the distance from the subject. The closer you are to the subject, the shallower the depth of field becomes. Move further away and the depth of field becomes deeper. And a third factor is magnification, which is influenced by your focal length and how tightly your subject fills the frame. Longer focal lengths often produce blurrier backgrounds. But much of this effect comes from the increased magnification rather than the focal length itself, and we're going to explore that in more detail in a later video. The final factor is the distance between the subject and the background. The farther the subject from the background, the more blurred the background becomes, making your subject stand out more clearly. If your subject is standing right in front of a wall or a hedge, there isn't much room for the background to blur, so it stays much sharper. That's why portrait photographers often move their subject well away from the background whenever possible to create stronger separation and a more pleasing professional looking image. It's also worth clearing up one common misunderstanding. A photograph doesn't suddenly switch from being perfectly sharp to completely blurry. Focus falls away gradually. Objects at the exact focus distance are the sharpest, while objects in front of that or behind that point becomes progressively less sharp. Depth of field simply describes the range that still looks acceptably sharp when you view the final photograph. That's why it's called depth of field rather than single point of focus. As you learn photography, you'll find yourself making creative decisions about the depth of field all the time. Understanding depth of field allows you to choose the look that best tells the story for the photograph you want to tell.